With the cool weather coming in, it is now hoodie time. So if you're wanting a project to do with your kids, I have got one for you right here. So my name is Nate, and today we will be dyeing this hoodie right here. This is a cotton hoodie. You're going to need a few supplies before we get started. So you're going to need some Procion dye and some dye bottles. And you'll need to pre-mix that. So if you need to see how to mix that, please watch my video, What is Procion Dye? And it will go over how to mix the dye with you. And then you're also going to need some soda ash and some rubber bands and some dish soap. So we'll go ahead and get started on prepping the shirt. What you're going to need to do first is wash the shirt in the washing machine with just some regular laundry detergent. Don't worry about drying it, but make sure to get that washed, and then we'll get started on getting it prepped. After your hoodie is washed, you're going to be soaking it in soda ash. And so this water right here is a soda ash solution of 1 gallon of water to 1 cup of soda ash. I'm going to be putting quite a few hoodies in here. So I have 6 gallons in this, so I put 6 cups of soda ash. You can put as many items in that will fit, and then you're going to want to let it sit. So we'll see if like all these will fit in here. You need to make sure that they get completely wet. So press it in there, and with hoodies, they're going to take quite a bit of water. And so if you're only doing one, you're probably going to need at least 1 gallon of water. 1 gallon should be just fine for one. So you're going to get it all in there, let all your liquid absorb, and then you're going to want to let this sit for about 15 minutes. All right, once your hoodie is sat in here for about 15 minutes, it'll be ready to wring out some of this extra moisture here. And so you're going to want to squeeze it. Try to get as much of this water out. And then you can give it a little twist to squeeze to wring out. You don't want to twist too hard because you can tear some of the stitches. So be careful if you do that. But your goal is to get as much of the water out as possible. So now that we've got it about done dripping, so we're going to put it in the bucket right here. It's still not quite ready to tie yet. It's a little bit too wet. So if you want, you can either hang it up to let it dry out for a bit because you want it to get mostly dry but not completely, or we can take it to the washing machine and put it on the spin only cycle. So I'm going to go do that right now. To spin out the excess water with the washing machine, what you want to do, turn it on. And with mine, so there's a lot of different settings, but mine is the front load. And so what I do is I can come over here to this rinse and spin setting, and it automatically puts the rinse on here. I do not want it to rinse. So to turn the rinse cycle off, I have to push this all the way till it turns off. Once that rinse cycle is off, it's good, because if it rinses, then it'll rinse the soda ash out and you'll have to soak it again. And then to spin it, I put it on the highest setting for the spin, and then we start it. So after you've got it spun out, it should be nice and mostly dry. It's going to be a little damp, which will be just fine. You want it to be slightly wet, but not dripping wet. That way it can still absorb the dye. So if you don't have the option to spin yours out and you have it hanging, you'll just want to let it get mostly dry, but not completely. If it gets completely dry, it can get a little crispy and get kind of hard to tie. So you want it to stay slightly damp. That way it is able to fold and tie a little bit better. And so I've got it turned inside out and face down here. And to do a scrunch, what we're going to do is we're just going to scrunch this up. And this is going to give us that like that marbled pattern, that random chaotic pattern, to where it just looks like your traditional tie-dye. And so we're just going to scrunch all this up. And the goal is to not let it go over itself. So if you scrunch it too much and it bunches over itself and you put dye here, it may not get all the layers underneath. So you'll want to try to get it to just scrunch into itself. So we're going to squeeze it, scrunch it, and squeeze it just like this. And hopefully it'll hold most of its shape. So it's holding most of its shape here. And we're going to get some rubber bands. And I'm going to put these rubber bands on here like a grid-like pattern. So they'll be going across this way and then also across this way. So you'll take that first one and usually put 4 fingers through just like this. And then the thumb and slide it underneath. It may catch a little bit, but it's fine. You just squeeze it on here. And so you want it to hold on just like this. So then we're also going to put one here and here. And then depending on the size of your hoodie, that'll really be dependent on how many you put on. I usually like to use 3 first. And then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. So if it gets too elongated, then once you start to put rubber bands on this way, it has a hard time just holding itself together and it wants to collapse. So I try not to get it too elongated first. And then we'll go put 3 more on this side or go in this direction just the same way. And then with the hoodie, so we definitely need to put at least 2 more on. And I think what we'll do is we'll put corner to corner. And that right there should hold our hoodie together nice and perfect. And actually, we could probably use one more right here. So I'm just going to move that one up just a little bit. We're going to add one more. Make sure we got this right here. Everything's all tucked in. Pressure is even all around. And now it's going to be good to go. Okay, so I usually lay this with the flat side down and I dye the messier side first. So I've got 8 colors here and black. If you need to see how to mix the colors, please watch my video, What is Procion Dye? And it'll go over mixing the colors for you. So I do also turn this to the side too. What we're going to do is we're going to do a gradient with all the colors. And so I do this so that once you put the shirt on or the hoodie on, it'll go from like the top of your shoulder on one side down to your hip on the other versus just going straight up and down or straight side to side. So we're doing this at an angle. And so the color that you want to be, say your favorite color, the one that you want to be the most, we're going to pick that color first and then we're going to work our way out from that color. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this turquoise and I'm going to go from corner to corner right here. And because this is the longest line and in the middle, this will be the dye that goes from the corner from one side to the corner of the other and will be the most prominent color. So I actually did not fill those bottles completely, so I'm just going to go ahead and go over to this next bottle. And we're going to put quite a bit because hoodies are thick. There's a lot of material right here, and a lot of material means a lot of dye. So you want to make sure you put plenty of dye on. So we're going to go, since I have my colors laid out in a certain way, we're just going to work from the middle. We're going to go to the right here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and we'll put blue next. Then we'll put it right on the edge a little bit so that they can work into each other. If I put it too close, it can overtake that. So we don't want it to overtake. We just want it to be right next. And we do want them to touch, but we don't want this to be too overpowerful. Yeah, all of my bottles all have about the same amount of dye in them. From the last thing I dyed, I used about the same amount and then I didn't refill. Okay, so our next color is going to be purple here. We can overlap these colors a little bit. What that'll do is that'll give a gradient versus just a hard line between each color where it's just turquoise, just blue, just purple. If you let them cross over just a little bit, there'll be a nice gradient where you can't really tell a hard line. It's just one smooth transition all the way through from color to color. And so after purple, after this, we now go back over to this end here, over to fuchsia. And we're going to put fuchsia right here next to the purple. Let those overlap a little bit. So always gives a nice good blend. So since we're on the edge right here, what I'm going to do is before I put the next color, I'm going to skip it. I'm going to put a little bit of orange right here on the edge first. And this will give us a gradient. So if I were to put that next color first, that next color could just run into it and we wouldn't have a gradient. It'd just be a hard, solid color of red on the edge. We don't quite want that. We want that orange. And so I put that orange first. And then we're going to go through and we're going to put a little bit of red in here. And what that'll do is that'll give us that gradient shift from fuchsia into red and then over there to orange. And then even to brighten that orange, because we are doing gradients, what we can do here, just add a little bit of yellow to this orange, and then that shows that it's a gradient. It's not a hard stop, it's stopping within the gradient. So it's still orange, but it's going to be a bright orange. So now we're going to come back to the middle, and now we're going to work the other way. So we'll take the green, and we'll put green right next to this turquoise, just like we did with the blue on the other side. You can see how we got this little bit of white line here. It's because I'm going to come back through and I'm going to put a little bit of that turquoise back over so that we have a blend of all these colors. If I were to blend both of the colors into the turquoise, that turquoise could potentially disappear. So what I want to do is put those colors down and then blend this turquoise into those two colors, just like so. And we'll probably end up using more turquoise than any of the other dyes, or whichever color you decided to put right here. This is a lot of material. Yeah, I typically go through 20 ounces or more per hoodie. So that's a lot of dye. That means 5 of these bottles. These are 4-ounce bottles. So be sure to account for that. And then if you want some white in there, you can use less dye. That's how you keep some white in there. Okay. And so you can see how we're almost coming to the same thing over here. We don't want just a solid red edge right there. So actually what I'm going to do is try not to put too much of that orange. I'm going to come back over here, put some of this yellow over that orange. That way we got a golden orange, golden yellow in between. So I'm actually going to take a tiny bit of purple. We're going to put some purple right there. Just that little bit. And then we're going to take some fuchsia. We're going to go ahead and put some fuchsia there on the edge. Put a barrier between that purple and the orange. Orange and purple touch, it will make brown. And then we'll take some of this red and kind of mix it over the fuchsia and the orange. Just a little bit though. And that'll keep us with a nice gradient right over here on this corner. I think this is a sleeve, maybe. No, this is the whole bottom, it looks like. Some of the bottom, not the whole bottom, but okay. So now we're going to put a little bit more of this orange over here. We're going to just make sure that these colors are nice and blended. I think that's probably good. And then we're going to flip this over. You can kind of look and see how much color went through. You want it to be almost all the way through. So a few of these, it looks like, well, depending on how much dye you want on here or how much white that you want or don't want will be how much dye you put on. So I'm trying not to get too much white in this. So I'm going to add a little bit more color over here where I saw that it did not quite go through to the other side. And then when I flip it over to the other side, that side's just going to get one color added to it. And so after this, I think I'll probably be good with the dye over here. Actually, I may need some over here. So I think I'll put some more of this orange. That orange looks thick. We got a thick orange right there. Let's see. Looks like they both are. Okay, so we'll put a bit on there. We'll put a bit more of this yellow. So that orange will bleed over into the yellow. And we can go a little green. Why not? I've added a bit more of every color, so why not? Why not? So that looks like we got enough dye on this color. So now we'll flip this back over. Take a look. And if you really need to see just how much, you can open up these folds and look in there. You can see how I got dye on that. Since I'm dyeing this side black, it's going to be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take black dye and we're just going to slowly put it around the border. That way it doesn't drip over the edge. We only want a little bit towards the edge. That way it gives it somewhere to soak in and kind of a barrier. And then we're going to start working our way inward. So it's probably going to take this whole bottle plus more, maybe. We'll see. See if I can get it to go this whole bottle. This being just a 4-ounce bottle, I think so. Because I'm not trying to put too much black. But by doing this, I put black on almost all of my dyes. And this gives contrast to the dye. And it makes the other colors actually stand out more. All right, so there's all the black. That's going to be all the dye that we put on this. So we're going to flip this back over. And we're going to let this sit for 24 hours and then wash it out. So our hoodie is now rinsed, washed, and dried. If you need to see how to do that, please check out my video, How to Rinse and Wash Your Tie-Dye, and it'll go over the instructions on how to do that for you. So we're going to go over this just a little bit to explain what we did. So we did the scrunch pattern, and then we dyed the rainbow from one side to the other. And so by angling it after it was tied, as you can see, our color goes in an angle like this. And so all of the same color goes in this kind of direction. And so it keeps it from having it going straight across or straight this way. I feel it looks better this way by doing this. And so you can see our full color going from one end all the way to the other. And our hood as well, both sleeves. And then the back side, see, it is the same as the front side. So in the beginning, it's important to make sure that it is flat, and that way you have the same image on the back side as you do on the front side. So please be sure to click that like and subscribe for more videos. My name is Nate. Thank you for watching.